Some of you have heard me talk about the hero, guide, villain, and victim. And by the way, this is not my concept at all. This is Donald Miller. You can go check him out on Instagram, or he has a couple of podcasts. But I think he's fantastic because he really talks about how we need to be a hero in our own journey. In fact, he has a book by that title that I think is very good. So you can go check that out. I actually don't know Donald Miller. I just love watching him on Instagram. I think he has some great things to say about being a hero in your own journey. So here is the deal, you guys. As designers, it is very interesting the kind of people that I attract. The people who are listening here, and you're one of them. And I love that you're here listening to me talk about design. There's a timidity and a kind of like kindness and goodness among people who want to become new designers that I absolutely adore. I think I feel very, very lucky I get to be part of this design community at large, simply because I think there's so many good people in it, people who are trying to bring their art to the world. And bringing your art to the world is hard, right? It's hard sometimes. Like, it feels daunting sometimes, and you feel like you're putting a little piece of yourself out there for the world to see. And so that it brings in a lot of these wonderful artists, and you're probably one of them, or designers, or people who want to become new designers. And some of what we have to do in design feels a little scary or a little difficult. And I'm here to tell you that courage and bravery, those kinds of things, they come because it is scary, right? Courageous effort doesn't happen when we're just super confident and we know, right? That's just going forward. That's just moving forward. When we move forward and we're a little bit scared and things feel very daunting, or you're not sure if you can do it, that is bravery, that is courage, and that's you being the hero in your own journey. Think about a hero's journey, and I'm trying to think of a great example. For us, probably at our house, it's Harry Potter. we love Harry Potter at this house, and I'm thinking about him as a hero. It's not like things were all peaches and cream the whole time, right? There were things he was scared of. He lost things were hard, and in a lot of ways we see a lot of like drama and conflict and all these things. That is what it's like to be a designer. There will be conflict, there will be drama, there will be things that are hard. You will have customers that you have to deal with. Some will love you, some will hate you. It's just part of the journey. And you're like, oh, but Carina, I don't want anyone to hate me. Well, that it is hard, right? And if you're really going to do this thing, then you have to be open to the idea that not everybody's going to love your stuff. Not everyone's going to love your design work. And that took a second for me to figure out, you guys. It really did. And figure out that I wasn't going to be for everyone. And if you're listening here on this podcast, I'm not even for everyone who's listening to this podcast, right? And that sometimes is hard because we want to be liked, we want to be loved, and we want to give of ourselves. We want to be vulnerable and give something of ourselves because we know that we could help someone, right? We could help someone with what we've got. So I really think that if you can start to view your life as a hero in it, and then Donald Miller says eventually as a guide, which I agree with. But right now, especially if you're starting a new design journey, and many of you are, I would say a new journey is anyone who's within the first 3 years, okay? That it's a new journey. I am 14 years into this now, almost 15, and it doesn't feel new to me anymore, but I will say I would say even 4 years, it still felt very new. I was still trying to understand contracts. I was still trying to understand the online space. I was still trying to figure out what customers like to buy, okay? Those are things that all happen in the first few years of your design business. So I think that you should be thinking of yourself as a hero. Now, why do I think you should do this? It's not because of ego or anything else. In fact, the hero is actually very weak, right? We have flaws, we have weaknesses, and we have drama, and we have trials. And I think if you start to think of your life a little bit like you're this hero on this journey, then it doesn't feel as scary when a trial comes, because you're going to look at it almost like a storybook, like, okay, this trial happens, and then what happens afterwards? We overcome it. We overcome it. At the time of recording this, which is a little bit before this actually comes out, because we're scheduled pretty far ahead on our podcast and YouTube videos. And one of my designers got a rejection from a fabric company, and she was heartbroken. And I saw it, but one of the things I knew that she didn't know yet, because she's still going through the process and we're helping her apply to different fabric companies, one of the things she hasn't felt yet or seen yet is that actually the more rejections you get, especially as a hero in your own journey, the sweeter it is when you get the big yes. The sweeter it is. And if you don't go through multiple rejections, in fact, if you get a yes on the first go, you know what happens? You don't appreciate it. You haven't scaled the mountain, and it won't feel worthwhile. It won't feel worthwhile if you haven't scaled the mountain and done all the hard things. And that's very often sometimes why you see designers who only get the one-off design fabric contract, or you see a scrapbooking company, they get like the one thing, or they fail this way and that way, right? It's because they forgot that they were a hero and that there were going to be trials, and those trials were there to help make them grow, right? So they could become better, because it means we'll produce the better fabric line, the better scrapbooking line, the better digital product. And it should also make us stronger, so that the next time we get a no, the next time we don't get the thing that we want, that we are stronger for it, and that all of those victories feel that much sweeter. I've been thinking about some of the books that I really love. I'm going to tell you guys a book that I bet none of you have read, but it's Lucy Maud Montgomery, who wrote Anne of Green Gables, which everybody, I feel like, has read, which I love. But she has a book called The Blue Castle. If you have read this and you are on YouTube, please tell me you've read this book. It is literally one of my probably top 5 books, and I read it a gazillion times as a kid, and as an adult I'll still sometimes pop it open. But the heroine in it lives a very dismal life. She is, at the time, I think 27 or 28 or 29 or something like that, and she's considered an old maid. And her mom, her dad's dead, and her mom and her aunt who live, they're just pinching pennies, and it's really tough. And she's always sick, and all these horrible things. And it's like, literally, it feels like half the book. I don't know if it is. It's like we're living with her in this really dull, boring, like, life. We're living with her in this, okay? And it just feels very heavy. You feel very heavy with this heroine, and she just she's also got a little bit of like this pity party going on. You're just kind of like, this is very sucky. And then she finds out that she has heart disease, and I'm not going to give any spoilers if any of you want to read this, because it's just a fun read. But she finds out she has a heart disease problem. That means that she's going to only live for a year. And she 100% changes her life. She does all these crazy things she normally wouldn't do and starts living life to the fullest. And as you're on this journey with this woman, because you've spent so much time in her daily life that's so boring and so poor and so pitiful, that when she starts making these crazy changes and starts living for other people, serving other people, becoming this really, and I'm not making it out, it's a love story. So those of you like romantic love stories, it's very on par with Anne of Green Gables, like, you know how Anne starts out as this orphan, but same kind of deal, but you spend way more time in the sad part. When it starts getting happy, it is so much more joyful. It is so much better. And that's the way it is, you guys, in design. the more hard things you go through, the more joyful and grateful you are for the good things that you get. And I remember this the first time I started making just $80,000 off of just design work. Like I remember that in a year, like getting to that point. And then the year after that, I did double. Yeah, it was almost double that. And like, it was because, and it was a few years in, you guys, it was because I had already done all the things, all this hard work, and I had lived through the hard things, not making money and putting all this effort in. And it was just so much sweeter when I started making that kind of money because I had lived the hard things. So many people think that designers must just get here and we're just all magically, like it's just like all magically happy and going. But I guarantee if you talk to a few designers, you would hear the hard things and the trials that were early on. And that just, it just makes the whole journey that much sweeter and so much better. So I hope that's helpful for you, especially for those of you who are in the harder phases right now. It's okay to be in the harder phases, because if you can start thinking of yourself as a hero in that phase, then it will shift your mindset and you will be able to know that this is just a season. It's just a season, and I'm meant to learn something from this. And if I can learn something from this, then I can grow and become even better. Okay, I hope that was helpful. If you're on the YouTube channel, please subscribe. I would love for you to get more of these, plus any of the craft videos that we're doing right now. We're doing a ton of them. And if you're on the podcast, I would love for you to subscribe there. I love being able to put this on both platforms so you guys can learn a little bit about design, mindset around design, because gosh, it's half the battle is the mindset, you guys, around design. All right, I'll see you guys soon.
Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.